There comes a moment when you realize that continuing the same way will only give you the same results. You may feel tired of repeating habits you promised yourself you would change. You may feel frustrated by knowing what you want but not living it yet. This audiobook begins at that honest moment. Not when life is perfect, but when you are ready to take responsibility for who you are becoming. This is not about quick motivation or empty encouragement. This is about rebuilding yourself step by step using daily choices that actually work. You will learn how to let go of patterns that quietly drain your energy and replace them with habits that strengthen your focus and self-respect. You will learn how to think clearly, act consistently, and grow without relying on constant motivation. Everything shared here is practical. Nothing requires special talent or luck. It requires honesty, discipline, and patience. The ideas are simple, but they ask for commitment. If you apply them, your life will change because your actions will change. Stay with this audiobook if you are ready to stop drifting and start directing your life. Stay if you want calm confidence instead of constant doubt. Stay if you are willing to destroy the version of yourself that no longer serves you and rebuild from zero with clarity and strength. Chapter 1. Identify limiting beliefs that hold you back daily. You are capable of more than you have allowed yourself to believe. But the truth is, most people live their lives trapped by thoughts that silently dictate what they can and cannot do. These thoughts are called limiting beliefs. They are the invisible barriers that appear in your mind, shaping the way you act, the decisions you make, and the opportunities you pursue or avoid. They are not facts. They are assumptions you have accepted over time, often without questioning them, and they quietly stop you from stepping into the life you are capable of living. Identifying these beliefs is the first and most important step in transforming your life, because you cannot change what you do not see. If you want to rebuild yourself from zero, the first act of courage is to confront the ideas you have about yourself that are false, restrictive, or outdated. Limiting beliefs are often formed in childhood, shaped by your environment, experiences, and the opinions of people around you. If someone told you that you were not good enough, not smart enough, or not capable of achieving something, that statement can embed itself into your subconscious. Over time, it becomes a rule you live by without questioning it. These beliefs can also develop from repeated experiences where you failed or felt rejected. Each failure, each moment of self-doubt can reinforce the story that you tell yourself about your capabilities. The key to breaking free is to recognize that these stories are not reality. They are perceptions that have taken root in your mind, and they can be uprooted with intention and awareness. The first practical step in identifying limiting beliefs is to pay close attention to your thoughts, especially the automatic thoughts that appear without conscious effort. These are the thoughts that emerge when you face challenges, opportunities, or moments of uncertainty. Ask yourself questions like, what do I tell myself when I consider trying something new? What excuses do I use when I avoid taking action? What fears come up when I think about success or failure? The answers to these questions often point directly to your limiting beliefs. Write them down. Seeing them on paper gives them form, and once a belief is visible, it becomes something you can examine, challenge, and change. Many limiting beliefs show up as internal statements that seem harmless, but are powerful in shaping your behavior. Phrases like, I'm not ready, I always fail, I can't do this, or I don't deserve success are examples. These statements are not truths. They are mental habits that have been reinforced over time. Each time you repeat them to yourself, they gain strength. Identifying these beliefs requires honesty. You have to notice when your mind defaults to negativity or self-doubt. This is not about judging yourself or feeling guilty. It is about observation. A clear and disciplined mind is able to separate the fact from the story you are telling yourself. Once you have identified these beliefs, the next step is to trace their origins. Where did this belief come from? Was it something a parent, teacher, or friend said? Was it a failure you experienced that you internalized as proof of inadequacy? Understanding the source is not necessary to eliminate the belief, but it provides insight and context. Often, recognizing that a belief originated from someone else's perspective or a past event that no longer defines you makes it easier to detach from it. You realize that you are not bound by what others think or by past mistakes. You are free to redefine yourself. Another key insight is that limiting beliefs often disguise themselves as caution or rational thinking. Your mind may tell you that taking a risk is dangerous or that failure is inevitable. While some caution is necessary, constant overestimation of risk and underestimation of your abilities is a sign of a limiting belief at work. To test a belief, ask yourself, if this belief were not true, what would I attempt? If failure were not guaranteed, what actions would I take? By imagining life without these restrictions, you start to see the gaps between perception and reality. You begin to notice that the limits were never real. They were constructs of your mind. Practical exercises can accelerate the identification of limiting beliefs. One effective method is the belief audit. Set aside a quiet time and write down areas of your life where you feel stuck or frustrated. Next to each area, write the thought or belief that explains why you think change is impossible. Be brutally honest. This might include beliefs about your career, relationships, finances, health, or personal abilities. Once each belief is listed, question its validity. Ask yourself, is this universally true? Is there evidence that contradicts it? How did this belief start? Who benefits if I continue believing this? This exercise forces you to confront beliefs that have operated unnoticed and gives you the first level of control over them. Self-awareness is critical in this process. Limiting beliefs thrive in the absence of reflection. Journaling is a practical tool here. Each day, write down moments where you felt hesitation, fear, or self-doubt. Then, examine what belief triggered that feeling. Over time, you will see patterns emerge. Perhaps you consistently believe you are not persuasive enough in conversations or not disciplined enough to reach a goal. These recurring thoughts are the beliefs that influence your life the most. Identifying them allows you to address them directly rather than letting them silently dictate your choices. Another powerful method is to observe your emotional reactions. Emotions are signals that reveal what your mind believes to be true. When you feel anxious about attempting something new, when you feel jealous of others' success, or when you feel frustration about your progress, these emotions often point directly to a limiting belief. Don't suppress or ignore these feelings. Acknowledge them, trace them to the underlying belief, and write them down. Emotional awareness is a shortcut to identifying mental barriers because your feelings are honest feedback from your subconscious. Limiting beliefs also show up in the language you use. Pay attention to your speech, especially in casual conversations. Do you say, "I can't," "I'm not capable," or "that's impossible for me"? These statements are not neutral. They reinforce your mental limitations. By consciously changing your language, you begin to change the belief itself. Replace negative statements with neutral observations or challenges. For instance, instead of saying, "I can't do this," you might say, "I have not learned how to do this yet." This small change shifts your mind from restriction to possibility. Another insight is that limiting beliefs often rely on comparison. You may believe that you are less talented, less successful, or less worthy than someone else. These comparisons create a mental framework where you are always falling short. To counter this, focus on your own growth rather than measuring yourself against others. Ask, what small steps can I take today to improve? How can I outperform my past self rather than someone else? Shifting the perspective from comparison to personal progress weakens the grip of limiting beliefs. Challenging limiting beliefs is not a single event. It is a continuous process. Every time you take an action that contradicts a belief, you weaken it. For example, if you believe you are not disciplined enough to exercise regularly, starting a small habit, such as a 10-minute daily walk, directly contradicts that belief. Each small success proves to your mind that the story it has been telling is not entirely true. Consistency in action is what transforms awareness into lasting change. Visualization can also help in this process. Imagine yourself acting without the constraints of your limiting beliefs. Picture taking bold actions, achieving your goals, and responding to challenges with confidence. This mental rehearsal primes your brain to accept new possibilities. When combined with real-world practice, visualization strengthens your belief in your capabilities and gradually replaces the old restrictive thoughts. Another tool is to seek external feedback. Sometimes limiting beliefs are so ingrained that you cannot see them clearly on your own. Trusted mentors, coaches, or peers can offer perspectives on your behavior, strengths, and blind spots. Listen openly, without defensiveness. Others can often see patterns in your actions and attitudes that you may have overlooked. This external input provides additional insight into beliefs that are holding you back and helps you validate or challenge your perceptions. It is important to recognize that fear is often a companion to limiting beliefs. Fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of the unknown, all of these are tied to internal beliefs that something about you is insufficient. Facing fear is a practical method of testing these beliefs. When you act despite fear, you gain evidence that your abilities exceed what your limiting beliefs claim. Over time, repeated exposure to fear teaches your mind that danger is often imagined and that growth happens on the other side of discomfort. Self-discipline and accountability are critical in dismantling limiting beliefs. Awareness alone is not enough. You must commit to daily practices that challenge and replace these beliefs. This might include writing affirmations that directly oppose your negative thoughts, setting micro goals to test your capabilities, or tracking your progress to see evidence of your competence. Accountability partners or journaling your progress ensures that you are consistent in the work required to change your mental patterns. It is also essential to separate your identity from your limiting beliefs. You are not your doubts, fears, or old stories. These are mental constructs, not truths about who you are. By recognizing that you have the power to think differently, you reclaim ownership of your life. You can rebuild your mindset from the ground up, constructing beliefs that support growth, action, and fulfillment rather than restriction and stagnation. A practical approach is to create belief statements that counteract your limiting beliefs. For each belief identified, write a statement that represents the reality you want to live. For example, if the belief is, "I am not good enough," the statement might be, "I am capable of learning and improving every day." Repeat these statements daily, especially in moments of doubt. This practice retrains your mind to accept new possibilities and gradually displaces the old restrictive beliefs. Consistency is the bridge between identifying limiting beliefs and transforming them into empowering beliefs. Daily practice, reflection, and small victories compound over time. Each time you notice a limiting thought and take action against it, you build evidence for your capability. Over weeks and months, what once felt impossible becomes routine, and the beliefs that held you back lose their grip. Ultimately, the process of identifying limiting beliefs is not about perfection. It is about awareness, courage, and incremental change. It requires honesty, self-compassion, and the discipline to face uncomfortable truths about your mindset. It demands reflection, journaling, observation, and action. By committing to this work, you begin to destroy the mental barriers that have restrained you for years. You open the door to rebuilding yourself from zero, creating a foundation of belief in your own abilities, and taking consistent action toward the life you desire. Every step you take in this process strengthens your capacity for growth. Every belief you challenge expands the horizon of what you see as possible. Every moment of awareness brings you closer to a life where your potential is no longer restricted by old stories. The work of identifying limiting beliefs is the first act of true self-mastery. It is the point where freedom begins and the life you are capable of living starts to take shape. It requires courage, clarity, and persistence, but the rewards are profound. You gain control over your mind, your choices, and ultimately, your destiny. Identifying limiting beliefs is a lifelong skill, not a one-time exercise. As life changes, new beliefs may appear and old ones may resurface. The key is vigilance and self-reflection. By maintaining a daily practice of observation, questioning, and challenging your thoughts, you ensure that your mind remains a tool for growth rather than a prison of doubt. Each day offers an opportunity to refine your beliefs, strengthen your confidence, and act decisively in pursuit of your goals. By committing to this chapter's practice, you are taking the first powerful step in destroying the old version of yourself. You are creating the awareness necessary to rebuild from zero. Each thought you question, each belief you confront, each action you take despite doubt brings you closer to the life you are meant to live. The journey begins in your mind, and the transformation begins with the courage to see your limiting beliefs for what they truly are and replace them with truths that empower action, resilience, and growth. Chapter 2. Release old habits that no longer serve you. You hold more power over your life than you realize, and one of the clearest ways to reclaim that power is by examining the habits that have been running your life in the background without your conscious permission. Habits are invisible forces that shape your days, your decisions, and the trajectory of your future. Many of them started as small actions, seemingly harmless, but over time they have accumulated to create outcomes that no longer serve you. Some of these habits keep you comfortable but stagnant, others undermine your progress without your awareness, and some directly sabotage your growth. Releasing them is not about blame or guilt. It is about recognition, understanding, and deliberate action. True freedom comes when you stop repeating the same patterns that limit your potential and start creating patterns that align with the person you are becoming. The first step in releasing old habits is awareness. You cannot change what you do not see. Observe your daily routines closely and identify the behaviors that drain your energy, waste your time, or distract you from meaningful action. These could be as simple as scrolling endlessly on your phone, procrastinating on important tasks, eating impulsively, or engaging in negative self-talk. Write down every habit that feels counterproductive or repetitive, even if it seems small. Each one of these behaviors is a thread that pulls your life in a direction you may not want to go. Awareness alone is powerful because it allows you to separate action from autopilot. Once you see the habit clearly, it is easier to challenge it. Understanding the triggers of your habits is equally important. Every habit, whether helpful or harmful, is linked to a cue. This cue could be an emotional state, a certain time of day, an environment, or a specific situation. For example, you might snack mindlessly whenever you feel stressed, or check social media when boredom strikes. By identifying the triggers, you gain insight into why the habit exists and how it persists. The more precise you are in recognizing what sparks the behavior, the more effectively you can interrupt it. Without understanding triggers, habit change becomes guesswork, and lasting results are unlikely. Another key insight is that habits are reinforced by immediate rewards. Your brain seeks pleasure or relief in the moment, even if the long-term consequences are harmful. This is why unhealthy habits are so sticky. Whether it is a sugar craving, avoidance of a difficult task, or a reflexive negative thought, the short-term reward keeps the behavior alive. To break the habit, you need to introduce awareness and a plan to redirect your behavior toward healthier alternatives that satisfy the same need. For instance, if stress triggers overeating, practicing deep breathing, taking a short walk, or engaging in focused work can serve as a substitute that provides a similar sense of release or satisfaction. Breaking a habit also requires consistency and small, measurable steps. Attempting to overhaul your entire routine at once is overwhelming and unsustainable. Instead, focus on replacing one habit at a time. Choose one behavior that has the greatest negative impact on your life and commit to interrupting it daily. Set up micro-actions that create new patterns in your brain. For example, if procrastination is the habit you want to release, commit to completing the first 10 minutes of a task without judgment or delay. This small action challenges the old habit loop and gradually trains your mind to act differently. Self-reflection is a crucial companion to habit change. Each day, take time to examine which habits served you and which held you back. Ask yourself honest questions. Did this behavior move me closer to my goals? Did it create value or consume energy? Did it reinforce fear or confidence? Writing these reflections down solidifies your awareness and creates a feedback loop for improvement. Over time, this daily reflection strengthens your ability to recognize habits before they dominate your actions, allowing you to make proactive choices instead of reactive ones. Releasing old habits often requires creating boundaries in your environment. Habits are not just internal, they are influenced by the people you interact with, the places you frequent, and the stimuli you are exposed to. If a habit is tied to certain environments, consider altering those environments to reduce temptation. This might mean limiting exposure to negative influences, changing your workspace, organizing your surroundings to encourage productivity, or removing items that trigger impulsive behaviors. The environment either supports your growth or reinforces stagnation, and intentional design is a practical tool for habit transformation. Accountability strengthens your ability to release habits that no longer serve you. Sharing your goals with someone you trust or creating a system to track your progress increases the likelihood of success. When a habit is challenged publicly or monitored consistently, your commitment deepens. Accountability partners can offer perspective, encouragement, and insight when habits resurface. They can help you notice patterns you may have missed and support you in making deliberate choices instead of defaulting to old behaviors. Another critical insight is that releasing habits is not simply about stopping negative behaviors. It is about creating space for new, empowering habits that serve your vision. Habits compete for your attention and energy. If you try to stop a habit without replacing it with a positive alternative, you may find yourself slipping back into old patterns. Identify the behaviors you want to cultivate and integrate them intentionally into your day. Start with small, actionable routines that reinforce growth. Over time, these positive habits expand and naturally push the old ones aside, creating a sustainable transformation. Consistency and repetition is essential because habits are patterns entrenched in your brain. The more you perform a behavior, the stronger the neural pathways become. Conversely, the more you interrupt and replace a habit, the weaker the old pathway becomes. Every deliberate action against an old habit creates new connections that reinforce a healthier choice. Over time, what was once difficult or automatic becomes easier and eventually becomes a natural part of your routine. Habit change is a process, not an event. Patience and persistence are key to mastering it. Self-compassion plays a significant role in this journey. You will encounter setbacks, moments where old habits resurface despite your best intentions. These moments are not failures, they are opportunities to learn about your triggers, weaknesses, and patterns. Avoid harsh self-criticism. Instead, analyze what happened, extract insight, and redirect your efforts. Progress is built on repeated effort, adjustment, and understanding, not perfection. Treating yourself with patience while holding yourself accountable strikes the balance necessary for lasting change. Visualization and mental rehearsal can accelerate the process of releasing old habits. Imagine yourself acting without the habit, handling triggers effectively, and responding in alignment with your goals. Picture the relief, confidence, and clarity you experience as a result. Mental rehearsal trains your mind to accept the new patterns as possible and prepares you for real-world application. Combining this mental practice with tangible action strengthens the neural pathways that support habit change. Tracking progress is a practical tool that reinforces your commitment. Document your daily actions, successes, and challenges in a journal or digital tracker. Observing patterns over time helps you see improvement that may not be immediately noticeable. It provides motivation, insight, and a sense of accomplishment. Recognizing small wins builds momentum and reinforces the belief that change is possible, making it easier to continue releasing habits that no longer serve you. It is also valuable to confront the emotional component of habits. Many old behaviors persist because they satisfy emotional needs. Whether it is stress, boredom, loneliness, or fear, habits often provide temporary relief. Address the underlying emotional drivers rather than simply attempting to suppress the behavior. This might involve learning new coping mechanisms, developing mindfulness, or cultivating self-discipline. By managing the emotions behind the habit, you reduce the need for the old behavior and strengthen your capacity for intentional action. Ultimately, releasing old habits is about reclaiming control over your life. It is about taking responsibility for the actions you repeat every day and understanding that each choice either moves you toward your goals or keeps you trapped in the past. By identifying the habits that no longer serve you, understanding their triggers, and replacing them with actions aligned with your growth, you lay the foundation for a life of intentionality, productivity, and fulfillment. Every habit you release creates space for new opportunities, stronger self-discipline, and deeper confidence in your ability to shape your own destiny. The process requires courage because habits are comfortable. They are familiar even when they are harmful. Letting go involves stepping into discomfort, confronting fear, and choosing change over stagnation. It requires deliberate action, self-awareness, and daily practice. Yet the reward is profound. Every habit release strengthens your sense of autonomy, sharpens your focus, and expands your potential. You gradually build a life where your actions are guided by purpose rather than habit, where each day is intentionally structured to align with your goals, and where growth becomes the natural outcome of your choices. By committing to this work, you begin to dismantle the old version of yourself that was bound by automatic behaviors. You create freedom in your daily routine, mental clarity in your decisions, and empowerment in your actions. Every moment spent observing, interrupting, and replacing a habit is an investment in the person you are becoming. The liberation from habits that no longer serve you is the gateway to rebuilding your life from zero with clarity, purpose, and unwavering momentum. The journey of releasing old habits is ongoing. Even after significant progress, new habits may form and old tendencies may resurface. This is a natural part of human growth. Maintaining vigilance, practicing reflection, and committing to daily improvement ensures that your life continues to align with your vision. Each day offers the chance to observe, adjust, and act intentionally. Each choice you make reinforces the life you want rather than the patterns that held you back. By the end of this practice, you will notice more than just changes in behavior. You will experience a shift in mindset. You will approach challenges with clarity, confidence, and resilience. Your energy will increase because you are no longer expending it on repetitive, unproductive behaviors. Your sense of control over your life will deepen. You will build a foundation strong enough to support the next steps in your transformation. Releasing old habits is not a single achievement. It is a continuous journey of reclaiming your power, aligning your actions with your values, and constructing a life that reflects the best version of yourself. Chapter 30. Create a clear vision for your new life. Your future is not something that simply happens to you. It is shaped by the clarity of your intentions and the vision you hold for yourself. A life without a clear vision is like walking through a dense fog, taking steps but never knowing if you are moving in the right direction. Creating a clear vision for your new life is an essential step in rebuilding yourself from zero, because it gives your actions purpose, your choices direction, and your mind a framework to measure progress. Without a vision, effort is wasted, energy is scattered, and growth is slowed. When you define exactly what you want to create, you build a map that allows you to make deliberate decisions, prioritize actions, and recognize opportunities that align with your goals. The first step in creating a vision is to reflect deeply on what you truly want, separate from expectations imposed by others or society. Many people accept goals that were given to them or that appear desirable on the surface, without questioning whether they align with their personal values or strengths. A true vision is personal. It emerges from an understanding of what brings meaning, fulfillment, and growth to your life. Spend time in introspection, asking yourself questions that cut to the core. What accomplishments would make me proud? What kind of person do I want to become? What contributions would give my life purpose? The answers to these questions provide the raw material for your vision. Once you have clarity on what matters most, the next step is to translate these desires into a concrete and detailed picture of your future. A vision is not vague or abstract. It is specific, measurable, and tangible. Instead of saying, "I want to be successful," define what success looks like in your terms. What daily actions, habits, and achievements represent this success? Where are you living? What are you doing? Who are you interacting with? And how do you feel? Painting this detailed picture allows your brain to recognize possibilities that were previously invisible and prepares your mind to act in alignment with your goals. Visualization is a practical tool in this process. By regularly imagining yourself living the life you desire, you reinforce the clarity and emotional connection to your vision. Picture the sensations, the environment, the interactions, and the accomplishments as vividly as possible. Visualizing your life in detail trains your mind to accept this reality as achievable and primes your subconscious to identify opportunities that move you closer to it. The more senses you engage, sight, sound, emotion, the stronger the neural pathways that connect your vision to action. A crucial aspect of a strong vision is alignment with your core values. When your goals are congruent with your principles, pursuing them becomes natural and obstacles become manageable. A misaligned vision, even if superficially attractive, creates internal conflict, drains motivation, and increases the likelihood of giving up. Take time to list your top values and cross-reference them with the life you imagine. Are your aspirations reflective of honesty, integrity, growth, contribution, or resilience? Ensuring alignment makes your vision authentic and sustainable. Writing down your vision is another powerful step. Committing your goals and intentions to paper solidifies them in your mind and acts as a constant reminder of what you are working toward. A written vision serves as a reference point during moments of doubt or distraction, reminding you why certain actions matter and why you are willing to endure discomfort to achieve your desired future. The act of writing also helps organize thoughts, clarify priorities, and identify gaps between where you are and where you want to be. Breaking your vision into actionable goals is essential. A vision alone is inspiring, but without a practical roadmap, it remains abstract. Identify short-term and long-term goals that support your vision. Map out the daily habits, weekly actions, and monthly milestones that cumulatively move you toward your desired life. Each goal should be realistic and measurable, yet ambitious enough to stretch your capabilities. By structuring your vision into achievable steps, you transform aspiration into momentum, making progress tangible and motivating. Flexibility is a critical component of a resilient vision. Life will inevitably present unexpected challenges, shifts, and opportunities. A rigid vision can lead to frustration or abandonment when circumstances change. Instead, build a vision that maintains clarity in your ultimate objective while allowing adjustments in tactics, timelines, or methods. This adaptive approach ensures that external factors do not derail your progress and strengthens your ability to maintain focus under uncertainty. Emotional attachment to your vision enhances persistence. Your brain is wired to prioritize what it cares about emotionally. Identify why your vision matters to you beyond surface-level achievements. Connect it to your sense of purpose, the impact you want to have, and the life you wish to experience. When your vision is emotionally charged, motivation becomes self-sustaining. Challenges become opportunities for growth rather than reasons to quit. The deeper the emotional connection, the more resilient you become in pursuing your goals. Sharing your vision selectively can also strengthen commitment. When you articulate your aspirations to trusted individuals, you reinforce accountability and open the door to guidance, support, and collaboration. Sharing is not about seeking validation, but about creating a network of encouragement and resources that amplify your efforts. Feedback from others can reveal blind spots, refine your approach, and offer insights that strengthen your path without compromising your autonomy. Consistency in revisiting and refining your vision is essential. A vision is not static. As you grow, learn, and gain experience, your perspective may shift. Periodically review your vision, evaluate progress, and make necessary adjustments. This ongoing refinement ensures that your vision remains relevant, motivating, and aligned with your evolving self. Reflection transforms a static picture into a dynamic guide that continually shapes your actions and decisions. Obstacles are inevitable when pursuing a vision, but they do not signify failure. Each challenge is a test of commitment and an opportunity to strengthen your resolve. Anticipating difficulties in advance allows you to prepare strategies to overcome them. By approaching obstacles as temporary and solvable rather than insurmountable, you maintain momentum and cultivate resilience. Your vision becomes a source of focus and determination, guiding you through adversity rather than allowing it to derail you. The clarity of your vision also improves decision-making. When choices arise, you can measure them against the alignment with your desired future. Actions that support the vision become easier to prioritize, while distractions lose their appeal. This clarity creates efficiency, reduces regret, and enhances the quality of your efforts. A defined vision becomes a filter through which all decisions pass, ensuring that energy is invested in what truly matters. Taking ownership of your vision is paramount. External circumstances, advice, or expectations may influence you, but your vision must ultimately reflect your personal choice. Reclaiming authority over your life requires acknowledging that your desired future is your responsibility to create. This mindset removes dependence on luck or validation and empowers you to act decisively. Ownership transforms hope into strategy, dreams into reality, and intentions into concrete results. To maintain momentum, break the vision into daily practices that reinforce it. Each morning, remind yourself of the life you are building and the person you aim to become. Visualize actions you will take that day that move you closer to the vision, and each day reflecting on progress and adjustments. These daily rituals ensure that your vision remains alive, actionable, and present in every decision, embedding it into your routine and mindset. Creating a clear vision for your new life is ultimately an exercise in mastery over your mind. By defining what you want, connecting it to values and emotions, breaking it into actionable steps, and committing to consistency, you build a framework that guides your transformation. The clarity of this vision fuels motivation, directs energy, and strengthens resilience. It serves as both compass and anchor, keeping you focused on your path even when challenges arise. Each moment spent intentionally shaping your vision is a step toward reclaiming your life and building the future you desire. The act of creating a vision is not about predicting the future. It is about deliberately choosing the direction of your life and setting a course that aligns with your potential. When your vision is clear, you see opportunities where others see obstacles, you respond to challenges with purpose, and you act with intention instead of reaction. This clarity empowers you to make choices that compound over time, shaping a life defined by growth, achievement, and fulfillment rather than drifting aimlessly through circumstance. Rebuilding from zero requires vision, because without it, actions become scattered, progress stalls, and potential remains untapped. The clearer your vision, the easier it is to release what no longer serves you, adopt habits that support your goals, and maintain the discipline needed for transformation. Every decision becomes purposeful, every effort meaningful, and every day a building block for the life you are creating. A vision is the foundation on which everything else rests, and establishing this clarity is a decisive step toward mastery of your future. By committing to a clear and actionable vision, you transform uncertainty into strategy, doubt into confidence, and intention into measurable progress. Your vision becomes both a source of inspiration and a practical guide for daily action. It allows you to see where you are going, understand what is required to reach your destination, and maintain focus despite distractions or obstacles. The clarity of your vision is the first structure in the framework of your new life, giving purpose to each effort, direction to every decision, and meaning to every action as you rebuild yourself from zero. Chapter 40. Set disciplined routines that build unstoppable momentum. Momentum is not built by motivation alone. It is built by structure, repetition, and discipline applied consistently over time. A disciplined routine is the framework that turns intention into reality. Without routines, progress depends on mood, energy, or circumstance. With routines, progress becomes automatic. When you set disciplined routines, you remove the need to constantly decide what to do next. You reduce mental friction. You conserve willpower. You create a system where growth happens even on days when you feel tired, uncertain, or uninspired. This is how momentum becomes unstoppable. Discipline is often misunderstood as restriction, but in reality, it is a form of freedom. When your day is governed by clear routines, you are no longer controlled by distractions, impulses, or emotional swings. You decide in advance how your time and energy will be used. This decision made once saves you from making hundreds of small choices throughout the day that drain focus and weaken resolve. Discipline is not about forcing yourself endlessly. It is about designing your life so that the right actions become the easiest actions. The foundation of a disciplined routine begins with clarity around what matters most. Your routines must serve your priorities, not compete with them. Identify the few actions that create the greatest positive impact in your life. These might relate to health, learning, work, or personal development. Once identified, these actions deserve a fixed place in your daily schedule. When something is truly important, it should not be left to chance. It should be built into your day with intention. Start by simplifying. Many people fail to maintain routines because they attempt to do too much at once. Discipline grows stronger when routines are simple and repeatable. Choose small actions that you can perform daily without resistance. Consistency matters more than intensity. A short daily practice performed without fail builds more momentum than an ambitious routine followed sporadically. Over time, small disciplined actions compound into significant results. Timing plays a critical role in routine building. Anchor important habits to specific times of the day. When an action is tied to a consistent time, it becomes part of your identity rather than a task you negotiate with yourself. Morning routines are particularly powerful because they set the tone for the rest of the day. Starting the day with deliberate actions creates a sense of control and direction that carries forward into other areas of life. Your environment must support your routines. Discipline weakens in environments filled with distraction and temptation. Arrange your surroundings to make productive actions easier and unproductive actions harder. This might involve organizing your workspace, limiting access to digital distractions, or preparing tools and materials in advance. The fewer obstacles between you and the desired behavior, the more likely you are to follow through consistently. Tracking your routines strengthens commitment. When you record your actions, you create visibility and accountability. Seeing a record of completed routines reinforces progress and builds confidence. It also reveals patterns when routines break down, allowing you to adjust rather than abandon the system. Tracking does not need to be complex. A simple checklist or journal entry is enough to reinforce awareness and consistency. Energy management is essential for disciplined routines. Discipline is not about ignoring physical and mental limits. It is about working with them intelligently. Pay attention to when your energy is highest and schedule demanding tasks during those periods. Respect the need for rest, nutrition, and recovery. A depleted body weakens discipline. A well-maintained body supports consistency. Sustainable routines account for energy rather than fighting it. Resistance is inevitable, especially when establishing new routines. Expect discomfort at the beginning. The mind resists change because it prefers familiarity. This resistance does not mean the routine is wrong. It means the brain is adjusting. The key is to act despite resistance without debate. Avoid negotiating with yourself. Follow the routine as planned. Over time, resistance fades and the behavior becomes automatic. Discipline also requires boundaries. Saying no to distractions is as important as saying yes to productive routines. Protect the time allocated to your habits. This may require declining certain activities, limiting social interruptions, or setting clear expectations with others. Boundaries are not selfish. They are necessary for growth. Every commitment you honor strengthens self-trust and reinforces discipline. Flexibility should coexist with discipline. Life is unpredictable, and rigid routines can break under pressure. Build routines that can adapt without collapsing. If a full routine cannot be completed on a given day, perform a reduced version. Maintaining the habit, even at a smaller scale, preserves momentum. Consistency is preserved by continuity, not perfection. Mental discipline is as important as behavioral discipline. Your internal dialogue influences whether routines are maintained or abandoned. Replace excuses with neutral observations. When thoughts arise that justify skipping a routine, acknowledge them without obedience. Thoughts do not require action. Discipline is choosing behavior based on commitment rather than impulse. This separation between thought and action is a hallmark of self-mastery. Rewarding consistency reinforces disciplined behavior. Acknowledge effort rather than outcome. Progress is built through repetition, and recognizing adherence to routines strengthens motivation. Rewards do not need to be extravagant. A moment of acknowledgement, reflection, or satisfaction reinforces the identity of a disciplined person. Identity-based discipline is stronger than motivation because it is rooted in who you believe you are becoming. Routines also benefit from periodic evaluation. What worked initially may need adjustment as circumstances change. Review routines weekly or monthly to ensure they still align with goals and energy levels. Discipline does not mean stubborn adherence to ineffective systems. It means commitment to improvement. Adjusting routines is a sign of awareness, not weakness. As routines solidify, momentum builds. Actions that once required effort become automatic. Progress accelerates because less energy is spent starting and more energy is directed toward execution. This momentum creates confidence, which further strengthens discipline. Confidence is not built through thinking, but through evidence gathered from repeated action. Each day you follow your routines, you collect proof of your reliability and capability. Unstoppable momentum emerges when routines are integrated across multiple areas of life. Physical discipline supports mental clarity. Mental discipline enhances focus. Focus improves productivity. Productivity reinforces confidence. These elements feed into each other, creating a cycle of growth that sustains itself. Momentum becomes self-reinforcing because progress in one area amplifies progress in others. Discipline also builds resilience. When routines are maintained during difficult periods, they provide stability and control. They anchor you when emotions fluctuate or external circumstances become chaotic. Routines offer structure when motivation fades. This reliability is what separates temporary effort from lasting transformation. Discipline ensures progress continues regardless of mood or conditions. The ultimate purpose of disciplined routines is not control for its own sake. It is alignment. Routines align daily actions with long-term vision. They bridge the gap between who you are now and who you aim to become. Each routine is a vote cast for the future version of yourself. Over time, these votes accumulate into identity change. You do not merely act disciplined, you become disciplined. Building unstoppable momentum through routines requires patience. Results may not be immediately visible, but internal changes occur first. Focus improves. Decision fatigue decreases. Confidence strengthens. These internal shifts precede external results. Trust the process. Momentum grows quietly before it becomes obvious. When discipline is applied consistently, life becomes simpler. Decisions become clearer. Progress becomes predictable. Chaos loses influence. You gain the ability to direct your time and energy with intention. This control is not rigid or oppressive. It is empowering. It allows you to pursue goals with clarity and purpose rather than reacting to circumstances. Setting disciplined routines is one of the most powerful actions you can take to rebuild your life from zero. It transforms potential into performance and intention into outcome. Routines turn effort into structure and structure into momentum. Each day you follow your routines, you reinforce the path forward. Over time, momentum carries you beyond what once felt possible. Discipline becomes not a burden, but the engine that drives lasting growth, stability, and success. Chapter 50: Challenge your fears to expand personal growth opportunities. Fear is one of the most powerful forces shaping human behavior, yet it is rarely examined with honesty. It influences choices quietly, convincing you to avoid risk, delay action, and settle for comfort even when comfort leads to stagnation. Fear does not announce itself loudly. It often appears as logic, caution, or timing. It tells you to wait until you are ready, until conditions improve, until confidence arrives. In reality, fear keeps you small by persuading you that safety is more valuable than growth. Challenging fear is not about eliminating it. It is about understanding it, standing in its presence, and acting with intention despite discomfort. Growth only expands where fear is confronted directly. Fear exists to protect you, but in modern life it often protects you from imagined threats rather than real danger. The fear of embarrassment, rejection, failure, or judgment carries no physical harm, yet it holds enormous influence. These fears limit expression, ambition, and progress. They shrink opportunity by convincing you that potential loss is worse than certain stagnation. Challenging fear begins with recognizing that discomfort is not danger. Feeling afraid does not mean something is wrong. It means something meaningful is at stake. The first practical step in challenging fear is naming it accurately. Vague fear feels overwhelming. Specific fear can be examined. Instead of saying you feel afraid, identify exactly what you fear might happen. Are you afraid of being judged, of failing publicly, of disappointing someone, of losing control? Writing these fears down brings clarity. Once fear is named, it loses some of its power. It moves from a shadow in the mind to a defined concern that can be evaluated rationally. Many fears persist because they are never tested. The mind assumes the worst without evidence. Challenging fear requires experimentation. Take small actions that place you slightly outside your comfort zone. These actions do not need to be dramatic. Speak up once when you would normally stay silent. Apply for an opportunity you feel unqualified for. Try something new even if you feel unsure. Each small exposure teaches the mind that fear does not dictate outcome. Evidence replaces assumption. Confidence grows from experience, not from thought. Fear often exaggerates consequences. The mind imagines extreme outcomes that rarely occur. When fear arises, pause and assess the realistic impact of failure. Ask what would actually happen if things went wrong. In most cases, the consequences are temporary and manageable. This assessment weakens fear by grounding it in reality. Courage does not require believing success is guaranteed. It requires understanding that failure is survivable. Avoidance strengthens fear. Each time you retreat, fear is reinforced as a signal of danger. Confrontation weakens it. This does not mean reckless behavior. It means deliberate exposure. Choose challenges that stretch you without overwhelming you. Gradual exposure builds tolerance. Over time, what once felt intimidating becomes familiar. Familiarity dissolves fear more effectively than reasoning alone. Fear is often linked to identity. You may fear acting in ways that challenge how you see yourself or how others see you. Growth demands identity expansion. It requires allowing yourself to act differently from the past. This may feel uncomfortable because it disrupts familiar self-concepts. Accept this discomfort as part of transformation. You are not betraying yourself by changing. You are evolving. Another barrier is the fear of success. Success brings responsibility, visibility, and change. It disrupts comfort and demands higher standards. Some fears arise not from the risk of failure, but from the implications of succeeding. Recognizing this allows you to address resistance honestly. Growth requires accepting new levels of responsibility and visibility without retreating into self-sabotage. Emotional regulation is critical when facing fear. Fear triggers physical responses such as tension, rapid thoughts, or hesitation. Learning to stay present during these sensations prevents reactive behavior. Slow breathing, steady posture, and focused attention calm the nervous system. This allows you to act intentionally rather than impulsively. Mastery over fear begins with mastery over reaction. Reframing fear changes its meaning. Instead of interpreting fear as a signal to stop, interpret it as a signal of opportunity. Fear often appears when you approach something that matters. It marks the boundary between the known and the possible. Each time fear arises, it indicates a chance to expand capacity. This perspective transforms fear from an obstacle into a guide. Preparation reduces unnecessary fear. While courage requires action, preparation strengthens confidence. Skill development, planning, and practice reduce uncertainty. Preparation does not eliminate fear, but it narrows its influence. Actively preparing for challenges ensures that fear does not arise from neglect or avoidance. Competence supports courage. Self-trust is built by honoring commitments despite fear. Each time you follow through on a challenging action, you reinforce belief in your reliability. This trust compounds. Over time, fear loses authority because experience proves your ability to handle difficulty. Self-trust is not inherited. It is earned through consistent action. Fear also diminishes when purpose is clear. When actions align with values and long-term goals, fear becomes secondary. Meaning provides strength. Clarify why growth matters to you. Connect challenges to something larger than comfort. Purpose sustains courage when motivation fades. Comparison amplifies fear. Measuring yourself against others creates unrealistic expectations and self-doubt. Focus instead on progress relative to your past self. Growth is personal. Fear loses influence when attention is directed inward rather than outward. Fear thrives in isolation. Sharing challenges with trusted individuals provides perspective and support. Speaking fear aloud often reveals its exaggeration. External insight can challenge distorted assumptions and offer reassurance grounded in reality. Challenging fear is not a one-time act. It is a practice repeated daily. Each fear confronted builds resilience. Each avoided fear strengthens limitation. Choose intentionally. Growth demands courage, but courage is not the absence of fear. It is the decision to act without waiting for fear to disappear. As fear loses control, opportunity expands. New skills develop, confidence strengthens, possibility increases. Life becomes larger because boundaries shift outward. The world responds differently to those who act despite fear. Doors open because action replaces hesitation. Fear will always exist in some form. The goal is not to eliminate it, but to reduce its authority. When fear no longer decides your actions, you regain control over your life. Growth accelerates because effort is no longer delayed by doubt. Each challenge faced strengthens your capacity to handle the next. This creates momentum. Courage compounds. Fear shrinks in proportion to experience. You begin to see challenges as invitations rather than threats. Challenging fear reshapes identity. You stop defining yourself by limitations and start defining yourself by action. Confidence becomes grounded in evidence rather than hope. The process requires patience and honesty. Some fears take longer to confront than others. Progress is measured by willingness, not speed. Each step forward counts. As you continue this practice, you will notice a shift. Fear still appears, but it no longer controls direction. Decisions become intentional. Growth becomes steady. Opportunities multiply because you are willing to step toward them. By challenging fear consistently, you expand your life beyond previous boundaries. You create space for development, achievement, and fulfillment. Fear becomes a signal to engage rather than retreat. This shift marks a critical point in rebuilding yourself from zero. Growth accelerates when fear no longer dictates limits. The willingness to face fear is the willingness to live fully. Each act of courage strengthens the foundation of resilience and self-mastery. Over time, fear transforms from an obstacle into a teacher, guiding you toward areas where growth is waiting. Chapter 6c. Develop resilience to overcome setbacks without giving up. Life does not reward intention alone. It tests commitment through resistance, delay, and failure. Setbacks are not interruptions to growth. They are part of the process itself. Resilience is the ability to remain steady when progress slows, when effort goes unnoticed, and when outcomes fall short of expectation. It is not about ignoring pain or pretending difficulty does not exist. It is about staying engaged with reality without surrendering your direction. Developing resilience means learning how to absorb impact without breaking alignment with your purpose. Many people confuse resilience with toughness, but resilience is more precise than that. Toughness pushes through blindly. Resilience adapts while moving forward. It recognizes what went wrong, adjusts approach, and continues without emotional collapse. The resilient person does not waste energy asking why life is unfair. They focus on what can still be done. This shift in focus is not denial. It is discipline applied to thought. The first step in developing resilience is accepting setbacks as normal. Resistance feels heavier when you believe it should not exist. When expectations are unrealistic, disappointment becomes sharper. Growth always includes friction. Accepting this truth removes shock and reduces emotional reaction. When difficulty arises, you are not surprised. You are prepared. This preparation creates psychological stability during uncertainty. Resilience begins with emotional regulation. Setbacks often trigger frustration, anger, or hopelessness. These emotions are natural, but they become destructive when they control behavior. The ability to pause before reacting preserves clarity. Taking time to breathe, slow the body, and observe thoughts creates space between stimulus and response. In that space, choice becomes possible. Resilient behavior begins where impulsive reaction ends. Language plays a significant role in resilience. The words you use internally shape interpretation. Describing a setback as failure encourages withdrawal. Describing it as feedback encourages adjustment. The event does not change. The meaning does. Resilience grows when interpretation supports continued effort rather than retreat. This is not positive thinking. It is accurate thinking. Most setbacks do not mean you are incapable. They mean your current strategy needs refinement. Responsibility strengthens resilience. Blaming circumstances or others weakens agency. Taking responsibility does not mean accepting fault for everything. It means acknowledging control over response. You may not control outcomes, but you control effort, learning, and persistence. This internal locus of control restores momentum after disruption. It keeps progress within reach even when conditions are unfavorable. Resilient individuals build recovery routines. After a setback, they return to basic disciplines rather than abandoning structure. Routine provides stability when emotions fluctuate. Continuing daily practices during difficulty reinforces identity. It communicates reliability to the self. Consistency during challenge strengthens confidence more than consistency during ease. Perspective is another essential element. Setbacks feel overwhelming when viewed in isolation. Expanding the time frame reduces emotional intensity. A single mistake does not define a trajectory. A temporary delay does not erase effort. Viewing progress across weeks and months reveals continuity rather than interruption. Perspective prevents short-term emotion from dictating long-term direction. Resilience also requires physical care. Stress impacts the body, and an exhausted body weakens mental endurance. Adequate rest, movement, and nutrition support emotional stability. Neglecting physical needs during challenge compounds difficulty. Strength is supported by maintenance. A resilient system addresses both mind and body. Another component is learning extraction. Every setback contains information. What failed reveals what needs adjustment. What caused delay highlights what requires reinforcement. Reflection turns experience into instruction. Without reflection, pain is repeated. With reflection, pain becomes productive. This learning mindset transforms adversity into refinement rather than discouragement. Comparison undermines resilience. Observing others' progress during personal struggle creates distorted narratives. You see outcomes without context. This fuels doubt and impatience. Resilience grows when attention remains internal. Measure effort, not external validation. Progress is not linear. Judging timing against others increases pressure without benefit. Support systems matter during setbacks. Isolation magnifies difficulty. Speaking with trusted individuals provides grounding and perspective. Support does not remove responsibility. It strengthens capacity. Resilient people do not face difficulty alone out of pride. They use connection wisely without surrendering ownership. Resilience also involves acceptance of discomfort. Discomfort is not a signal to stop. It is a signal to adapt. Avoidance increases fragility. Exposure builds tolerance. Staying present during discomfort without escalation strengthens emotional endurance. Over time, tolerance increases. Challenges feel manageable because capacity has expanded. Expectations require adjustment. Unrealistic expectations magnify disappointment. Flexible expectations preserve motivation. Progress is rarely smooth. Anticipating setbacks reduces emotional shock. Planning for difficulty does not create negativity. It creates preparedness. Prepared minds recover faster. Identity plays a central role. When setbacks threaten identity, resilience weakens. If you define yourself by outcomes, failure feels personal. If you define yourself by effort and integrity, setbacks do not attack identity. Identity grounded in behavior rather than results creates emotional stability. You remain intact regardless of outcome. Resilience is reinforced through evidence. Each time you recover from a setback, you gather proof of endurance. This evidence builds trust in your ability to continue. Confidence is not built by avoiding difficulty. It is built by surviving it repeatedly. Mental rehearsal supports resilience. Visualizing response to difficulty prepares the nervous system. Imagine facing setbacks calmly and adjusting strategically. This practice conditions the mind to respond rather than panic. Prepared minds recover faster because reaction is familiar. Resilience is cumulative. Each challenge faced increases capacity. What once felt overwhelming becomes manageable. This expansion is gradual but permanent. Capacity grows through exposure and recovery. Setbacks often reveal commitment. When progress is easy, commitment is untested. Difficulty reveals depth of resolve. Resilient individuals do not abandon direction when effort increases. They adjust pace, not purpose. This distinction preserves momentum. Patience strengthens resilience. Impatience magnifies frustration. Accepting gradual progress reduces emotional volatility. Progress sustained over time outperforms urgency without direction. Self-respect grows through perseverance. Each time you continue despite discouragement, you reinforce belief in your character. This belief becomes a source of strength during future difficulty. Resilience also requires letting go of perfection. Mistakes are part of refinement. Expecting flawlessness increases pressure. Accepting imperfection allows learning. Progress is improved through iteration, not avoidance. Ultimately, resilience is the refusal to quit alignment with your goals regardless of outcome. It is the ability to stay engaged with effort even when reward is delayed. It is calm persistence in the presence of uncertainty. Developing resilience transforms setbacks from threats into training. Each challenge strengthens capacity, clarity, and confidence. Over time, difficulty loses its power to derail. You continue because stopping no longer feels like an option. Resilience becomes part of who you are. Chapter 17 Cultivate self-awareness to make smarter daily choices. Self-awareness is the quiet skill that changes everything because it puts you back in control of your own life instead of letting habits, moods, and outside pressure decide for you. When you begin to truly notice what you think, how you feel, and why you act the way you do each day, you stop living on autopilot. Most people move through life reacting without pausing and later wonder why they feel stuck, tired, or disappointed. Developing self-awareness means slowing down just enough to see yourself clearly without judgment and without excuses. This clarity is not meant to shame you but to guide you. It gives you the power to choose better responses instead of repeating old patterns. Start by paying attention to your internal dialogue, because your thoughts shape your actions long before you notice them. Notice the tone you use with yourself when something goes wrong. Do you rush to criticize yourself, or do you look for understanding and correction? Becoming aware of this voice helps you change it. You cannot fix what you refuse to see, and you cannot grow while lying to yourself. Each time you catch a negative or limiting thought, pause and ask whether it is true, helpful, or necessary. This simple check creates space between impulse and action, and that space is where better choices live. Your emotions are another powerful signal that often goes ignored. Many people try to suppress feelings instead of understanding them. Self-awareness teaches you to listen to emotions without being controlled by them. When frustration shows up, ask what triggered it. When fear appears, ask what it is trying to protect. When joy arrives, notice what caused it so you can invite more of it into your life. Emotions are information, not commands. Learning to read them clearly allows you to respond with intention rather than reaction. Daily choices may seem small, but they build your life one decision at a time. Self-awareness helps you recognize why you make certain choices when no one is watching. It shows you patterns such as reaching for distractions when you feel uncomfortable or delaying important tasks when doubt appears. Once you see these patterns, you gain the ability to interrupt them. You stop saying "this is just how I am" and start saying "this is what I can change today." That shift is where real growth begins. One of the most practical ways to build self-awareness is reflection. Take a few minutes each day to look back without blaming yourself. Ask what went well and why. Ask what did not go as planned and what you can learn from it. This practice turns every day into a lesson instead of a judgment. Over time, you begin to notice trends in your behavior and decision-making. You learn what drains your energy and what strengthens it. You learn which environments support your growth and which ones pull you backward. Listening is another overlooked skill that sharpens self-awareness. Pay attention to how you listen to others and how you react to feedback. When someone challenges you, do you become defensive or curious? Defensiveness often points to an area that needs growth. Curiosity opens the door to learning. You do not need to accept every opinion, but you should be willing to examine why certain words trigger strong reactions. Those reactions often reveal hidden beliefs or unresolved issues that influence your daily choices. Your body also communicates valuable information if you learn to notice it. Fatigue, tension, and restlessness often signal that something in your routine or mindset needs adjustment. Instead of pushing through without thought, pause and ask what your body is telling you. Are you overworking, avoiding rest, or ignoring stress? Self-awareness connects mental and physical health so you can make smarter choices that support long-term strength rather than short-term comfort. Being aware of your values is essential for making decisions you can stand behind. Many people chase goals without asking whether those goals align with who they want to become. Self-awareness helps you clarify what matters most to you. When your choices align with your values, you experience less inner conflict and more peace. Decisions become easier because you are no longer pulled in every direction by outside opinions. Self-awareness also improves how you relate to others. When you understand your own triggers, strengths, and limits, you communicate more honestly and calmly. You take responsibility for your actions instead of blaming others. This builds trust and respect in relationships. It also helps you set boundaries that protect your energy and focus. Saying no becomes easier when you know what you need to say yes to. Growth requires honesty, and self-awareness demands courage. It takes courage to admit when you are wrong, to recognize habits that hold you back, and to accept that change begins with you. This honesty is not weakness. It is strength. It allows you to course correct before small mistakes become long-term problems. Each time you choose awareness over avoidance, you strengthen your ability to lead your own life. Smart daily choices are rarely dramatic. They are quiet decisions made consistently. Choosing to pause before reacting, choosing to speak with intention, choosing to act in line with your values, choosing to learn from mistakes. Self-awareness fuels these choices by keeping you present and intentional. It reminds you that every moment offers a chance to choose again. As you practice self-awareness, you will notice a growing sense of confidence that comes from knowing yourself. You will trust your judgment more because it is based on understanding rather than impulse. You will waste less energy on regret because you are learning in real time. Life becomes less about fixing the past and more about shaping the present. This practice does not require perfection. It requires patience and commitment. Some days you will notice your patterns clearly, and other days you will miss them. Progress comes from returning to awareness again and again. Each return strengthens the habit of conscious living. Over time, you become someone who responds thoughtfully, acts deliberately, and chooses growth even when it feels uncomfortable. Cultivating self-awareness is one of the most powerful investments you can make because it influences every area of your life. It turns ordinary days into opportunities for improvement. It transforms mistakes into guidance. It replaces confusion with clarity. When you know yourself, you move through the world with purpose and direction. You stop drifting and start deciding. And with each smarter daily choice, you build a life that reflects who you truly are and who you are becoming. Chapter 80: Learn new skills to increase your personal power. Learning new skills is one of the most direct ways to increase your personal power because it changes what you are capable of doing in real life. Power is not about control over others. It is about having options. It is about being able to respond instead of feeling trapped. When you gain skills, you gain confidence that comes from evidence, not hope. You stop guessing what you could do and start knowing what you can handle. This chapter is about choosing growth over comfort and replacing limitation with capability. Many people feel powerless not because they lack potential, but because they have not invested in themselves. They repeat the same routines, use the same knowledge, and wonder why nothing changes. Skills are leverage. They multiply your effort and expand your influence over your own future. When you learn something useful, your mind opens and your self-image shifts. You stop seeing yourself as someone waiting for opportunities and start seeing yourself as someone who creates them. Begin by understanding that learning is not reserved for a certain age or background. Growth does not expire. The moment you decide to learn again, you reclaim control over your direction. The most powerful people are not always the most talented. They are the most willing to learn. They stay curious. They remain students even when they have experience. This mindset keeps them adaptable in a world that constantly changes. Choose skills that solve real problems in your life or work. Learning becomes easier when you see immediate value. If communication is holding you back, learn how to speak clearly and listen effectively. If discipline is weak, learn how to structure your time. If money creates stress, learn how to manage it wisely. Power grows when skills reduce struggle. Each new ability removes friction and replaces it with momentum. Avoid overwhelming yourself by trying to master everything at once. Focus on one skill at a time and commit to consistent practice. Small daily effort builds real strength. 10 focused minutes each day will outperform occasional bursts of motivation. Learning is not about intensity but consistency. Progress compounds quietly. One day you realize tasks that once felt heavy now feel natural. Practice matters more than information. Reading and watching can inspire, but skill comes from doing. Apply what you learn immediately, even if it feels uncomfortable. Mistakes are part of the process, not signs of failure. Each attempt sharpens your understanding. Each correction strengthens your confidence. You gain power not by avoiding errors, but by learning how to recover from them. Surround yourself with environments that support learning. This may mean reducing distractions or spending time with people who value growth. Conversations influence mindset. If you are constantly around stagnation, it becomes harder to push forward. Seek voices that challenge you to improve and habits that support focus. Your environment either trains you or drains you. Learning also builds inner strength because it teaches patience. Skills develop over time. There are no shortcuts that last. As you practice, you learn to tolerate discomfort and delay gratification. This builds mental toughness. You stop quitting at the first sign of difficulty. You understand that effort today creates ease tomorrow. This belief changes how you approach challenges. As your skills grow, your self-respect grows with them. You trust yourself more because you keep promises to improve. This trust becomes confidence. Confidence is not loud or arrogant. It is calm and grounded. It comes from knowing you can learn whatever is required. When problems appear, you do not panic. You focus on what you need to learn next. Learning new skills also increases your independence. You rely less on others for solutions. You become resourceful. When something breaks, you figure it out. When an opportunity appears, you prepare for it. This independence brings freedom. You feel less at the mercy of circumstances and more capable of shaping outcomes. Your personal power expands when learning becomes part of your identity. You stop asking whether you are smart enough and start asking how you can improve. This shift removes fear of failure. Failure becomes feedback. Each experience becomes a lesson. You stay flexible and open instead of rigid and defensive. Skill building improves how you see time. Instead of wasting hours, you invest them. You begin to value learning moments even in ordinary days. You turn waiting into reading, practice into progress. This mindset transforms daily life. Every day becomes a chance to grow stronger and more capable. Do not underestimate the emotional impact of learning. It restores hope. It reminds you that change is possible. When life feels stuck, learning creates movement. Movement creates energy. Energy builds belief. You start to feel alive again because you are moving forward. Growth becomes a source of motivation rather than pressure. Learning new skills also prepares you for future challenges you cannot yet see. The world changes fast. Those who adapt survive and thrive. Skills give you flexibility. They help you pivot when plans fall apart. Instead of clinging to old ways, you adjust with confidence. This adaptability is a form of quiet power. Commit to being a lifelong learner, not for recognition, but for resilience. Skills protect you when things go wrong. They support you when resources are limited. They empower you when confidence is tested. Each new skill becomes a tool you carry forward. Over time you build a strong inner foundation that no one can take away. Personal power grows when you stop waiting for permission to improve. Start where you are with what you have. Learn from books, mentors, experience, and mistakes. Stay patient with yourself. Progress is rarely visible in the moment, but it is always happening beneath the surface. As you continue learning, you will notice a shift in how you carry yourself. You speak with clarity, act with intention, and face challenges with calm focus. This presence comes from competence. It is earned, not claimed. People respect it because it is real. Learning new skills is not about becoming someone else. It is about uncovering what you are capable of. Each skill removes a layer of doubt and adds a layer of strength. Over time you realize that your power was never missing. It was waiting to be developed. When you commit to learning, you commit to yourself. And that decision changes everything. Chapter 9Z. Take consistent action to manifest your desired future. Taking consistent action is where intention becomes reality. Ideas remain harmless until they meet effort. Dreams stay quiet until movement gives them a voice. Many people spend years thinking, planning, and waiting for the perfect moment. Progress does not come from perfect timing. It comes from steady action taken even when conditions are imperfect. This chapter is about closing the gap between who you want to become and what you do each day. Consistency is not about doing everything. It is about doing the right small things again and again. A future is not built in one bold move. It is built through repeated choices that seem ordinary in the moment. One honest hour of effort, repeated daily, will reshape your life more than rare bursts of intensity. Action builds trust with yourself. Each time you act, you prove that you are serious about change. Many people confuse motivation with movement. Motivation is unreliable because it depends on mood. Action does not require excitement. It requires decision. Decide in advance what you will do and follow through regardless of how you feel. This is how discipline forms. Discipline is not punishment. It is structure that protects your goals from excuses. Begin by narrowing your focus. Trying to change everything at once leads to burnout. Choose one direction and move toward it daily. Progress accelerates when energy is not scattered. When you focus your actions, you reduce inner conflict. You stop debating and start executing. Clarity turns effort into results. Action removes fear because it replaces imagination with experience. Fear grows in stillness. It weakens when faced directly. When you take the first step, uncertainty shrinks. Each step forward builds confidence because you gain feedback. Feedback is valuable because it shows what works and what needs adjustment. Without action, there is nothing to refine. Consistency also trains patience. Results often arrive later than expected. This delay discourages many people. They stop before momentum has time to build. Understand that progress often happens quietly. Roots grow before leaves appear. Trust the process and keep moving. Time rewards those who persist. Daily action shapes identity. You become what you repeatedly do. If you act like a disciplined person, you grow into one. Identity shifts when behavior changes. You do not wait to feel confident. Confidence follows action. You do not wait to feel ready. Readiness follows practice. Set clear, non-negotiable actions that align with your desired future. These actions should be simple enough to complete, even on difficult days. Consistency beats complexity. A small action done daily outperforms ambitious plans done rarely. Lower the barrier to action. Make it easy to start and hard to avoid. Remove friction from your environment. Prepare tools and spaces that support progress. When action becomes convenient, it becomes habitual. Habits reduce mental effort. They free energy for growth. Each habit you build becomes a silent ally working for you. Action also builds self-respect. Keeping promises to yourself strengthens inner trust. When you act consistently, you stop doubting your ability to follow through. This trust creates calm confidence. You walk differently, speak clearly, and approach challenges with steadiness. Avoid waiting for external validation. Progress is personal. Many actions that shape your future will go unnoticed by others. That is normal. Focus on alignment, not applause. The reward for action is growth, not recognition. Stay committed even when results are private. Measure progress honestly. Reflection helps refine action. If something is not working, adjust without judgment. Action without reflection leads to exhaustion. Reflection without action leads to stagnation. Balance both to stay effective. Learn from experience rather than abandoning effort. Consistency requires managing energy, not forcing willpower. Rest supports action. Sleep, nutrition, and mental clarity are part of discipline. You cannot sustain effort if you neglect recovery. Take care of your body and mind so action remains possible. Understand that setbacks do not cancel progress. Missing one day does not undo momentum. Quitting does. Resume quickly. Forgive yourself without excusing patterns. Consistency is built by returning to action after interruption. Resilience grows through recovery. Action also clarifies desire. When you move, you learn what truly matters. Some paths will lose appeal. Others will strengthen your commitment. This clarity comes only through experience. Thought alone cannot reveal it. Choose actions that align with values rather than outcomes alone. Values provide stability when results fluctuate. Acting with integrity builds inner strength. You feel grounded even when progress feels slow. This alignment keeps effort meaningful. Consistent action transforms time. Days gain purpose. Routine replaces chaos. You stop drifting and start directing your life. Each action becomes a vote for the future you want. Over time, these votes accumulate into change you can see and feel. Action teaches responsibility. You stop blaming circumstances and start focusing on choices. This shift restores power. You realize that while you cannot control everything, you can always control effort. Effort is always available. The future is not something that arrives. It is something you build quietly through daily effort. Action shapes character. Character shapes destiny. This chain is simple but powerful. When you act consistently, you participate in your own creation. Commit to movement over perfection. Commit to progress over comfort. Commit to showing up even when enthusiasm fades. Action taken today makes tomorrow lighter. Over time, effort becomes habit, and habit becomes identity. Your desired future is not distant. It is being formed by what you do today. Choose action. Choose consistency. Choose to move forward even when the path feels uncertain. Each step carries you closer. Keep going. Chapter 20. Reflect every day to strengthen progress and growth. Reflection is the quiet force that turns effort into wisdom. Without reflection, days pass and lessons fade. With reflection, every day becomes a teacher. Growth does not come only from action. It comes from understanding what action produced. When you pause to reflect, you take ownership of your life instead of drifting through it. This chapter is about building the habit of daily reflection so progress becomes intentional and growth becomes steady. Most people move fast but think little. They stay busy yet feel stuck. Reflection slows you down just enough to see clearly. It creates space between events and reactions. In that space, you gain control. You stop repeating the same mistakes because you finally notice them. Awareness is the beginning of mastery. Daily reflection does not require long hours or complex systems. It requires honesty and consistency. A few quiet minutes are enough when used well. The goal is not to judge yourself, but to observe yourself. Judgment weakens growth. Observation strengthens it. When you look at your actions calmly, you learn faster. Begin each day's reflection by reviewing what you actually did, not what you intended to do. Reality matters more than plans. Ask yourself where your time went, where your energy flowed, and where you resisted effort. This reveals patterns. Patterns show you the truth. Once you see the truth, change becomes possible. Reflection strengthens discipline because it connects actions to outcomes. You start to see cause and effect clearly. When you skip effort, you notice the cost. When you stay consistent, you notice the reward. This understanding builds responsibility. You stop blaming circumstances and start adjusting behavior. Reflection also builds emotional intelligence. You learn what triggers stress and what creates calm. You recognize habits that drain you and habits that restore you. This awareness helps you make smarter choices the next day. You stop reacting blindly and start responding deliberately. Use reflection to review your thoughts as well as your actions. Thoughts shape behavior. Notice where your thinking helped you and where it held you back. Replace vague complaints with clear observations. Clarity reduces frustration. When you understand why something felt difficult, you regain control. Daily reflection improves focus. It helps you identify distractions that steal time and attention. You become aware of habits that dilute effort. This awareness allows you to refine routines. Each small adjustment increases efficiency. Progress becomes smoother. Reflection is also a tool for gratitude. Not forced positivity, but honest appreciation. Acknowledge effort even when results are incomplete. Recognizing progress fuels motivation. You learn to value consistency over perfection. This mindset keeps you moving forward. Avoid turning reflection into rumination. Dwelling on mistakes without learning leads to stagnation. Reflection should always point toward improvement. Identify one thing to keep, one thing to adjust, and one thing to let go. Simplicity keeps reflection practical. Write when possible. Writing slows thinking and sharpens insight. A few sentences capture lessons that might otherwise disappear. Over time, these notes become a personal guide. They show how far you have come and what patterns repeat. This record builds self-trust. Reflection at the end of the day prepares the mind for rest. Unresolved thoughts create tension. When you review the day consciously, you release mental clutter. Sleep improves. Energy restores. The next day begins with clarity instead of confusion. Reflection strengthens resilience. When setbacks occur, reflection turns pain into learning. You ask what the experience taught you instead of why it happened. This shift preserves momentum. You recover faster because you extract value from difficulty. Daily reflection also supports alignment with values. You notice when actions drift from principles. This awareness allows course correction. Integrity grows when behavior matches belief. Inner peace follows alignment. Over time, reflection deepens self-knowledge. You understand your strengths and limits. You work with yourself instead of against yourself. Growth becomes sustainable because it respects reality. Reflection builds patience. Progress feels slow until you review past effort. Looking back reveals movement that was invisible day to day. This perspective reduces discouragement. You realize consistency works even when results are delayed. Make reflection a fixed habit. Choose a time that suits your rhythm. Evening works well because the day is complete. Protect this time. Treat it as training for the mind. Like physical exercise, mental reflection strengthens capacity. Do not seek perfection in reflection. Seek honesty. Some days will feel unproductive. Others will show clear wins. Both matter. Growth is uneven. Reflection helps you stay steady. Reflection also prepares you for future challenges. By understanding how you respond under pressure, you plan better responses. This preparation builds confidence. You face uncertainty with experience instead of fear. As reflection becomes routine, you develop a calm inner voice. This voice guides decisions quietly. You trust it because it is built on evidence. You stop chasing every impulse. You act with intention. Daily reflection transforms mistakes into instruction and effort into insight. It turns time into wisdom. Without it, life repeats. With it, life evolves. End each day knowing that awareness is progress. Each honest look strengthens growth. Each lesson learned reduces struggle. Reflection does not change the past. It shapes the future by refining the present. This habit completes the cycle of self-improvement. Action moves you forward. Reflection keeps you on course. Together they create lasting change. When you reflect daily, you become your own guide. Growth becomes deliberate. Progress becomes reliable. The path ahead becomes clearer with every thoughtful pause.